Hi, I'm Phineas Cromwell.
I'm Abigail Beatrice Cormack.
And I'm Lucas M. Buford. And this is Antiford on Air for July 2015. So, welcome back. We have one new member. That would be Jack G. Cogsworth.
Yes, we met him at the Steampunk World's Fair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're glad to have you.
Yes. And we're really happy to see the story that you already put up.
Very fun.
Oh yes, great stuff. So recently we have been to the Rebel Arts Craft Fair in Hillsborough, New Hampshire. That was a great time. We were selling there, and we did very well. And we had a marvelous time. We're looking forward to doing it again whenever they want to do it again.
Yep, this was our first time vending, and
Yep.
We're very glad that you picked us, and we had a great time. So,
And we know you all loved the big squid.
Oh
yes. The big squid.
Definitely.
The Squidly went to a good home.
Yes.
It was a raffle.
Yep. Which did really well. And speaking of the craft fair, we had a call out for short stories, which were 500 words or less. And at the craft fair, I made everybody's stories into tiny little booklets. So if you're interested in receiving your entry as a booklet, just let me know. Because I've got a ton of them, and they are really cute. And I really enjoyed reading all of them while making these. They were very good.
And we did sell some.
Yeah, actually,
and
we did.
We did sell some.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, this episode, I guess we're going to be delving into sort of the technology in the world of Antiford and ore and all that. Because a lot of people have been asking about that. And yes, it's in the encyclopedia, but we thought it would be nice to do a little video brush up and a little introduction to all the kind of where our world is at.
And you know, while it is in the encyclopedia, there are a lot of aspects of the technology that we kind of, I guess in a sense, brush over that, oh, well, you know, it's just the technology of where we are, and we just kind of assume everybody...
Right.
Well,
or there's also a lot of technology that will steal from the period,
right?
From like the turn of the last century. So we'll just steal that technology and just use it, like the water stills or the condensation stuff. Those were cool.
Yes.
Yeah, those were cool. So speaking of that kind of stuff, assumptions, explanations, those kinds of things. We're going to be doing an Ask the Order later this month. Haven't set a strict date yet, but we want you guys to start submitting your questions for things you want us to answer directly. And we'll be doing that as a hangout on air, so it will be kind of live. We'll have questions, but you'll also be able to post questions as they come up while we're answering the questions that you've given us already.
Yep.
So, very cool.
So, without much further ado,
let's
move on.
The majority of lighting in people's homes is still by candle. And in wealthier homes, gas lighting is used. Gas lamps line the street in many high-class areas in major cities such as Guildford and Argentstrath. The street lamps are semi-automatic and can be lit by a single point, which makes lighting them very easy to do. In some elite homes and in very large businesses, electric lighting is beginning to catch on. Antiford is famous for the textile mills that run along the river between Guildford and Argentstrath. These mills import raw materials from the surrounding countries and export a final product that's world-renowned. The mills along the river include factories that spin, weave, and dye the final fabric. Although clothing is still made in home or by tailors, the technocrats are looking into making machine-made clothing. In Whitehaven, on the other hand, where sand and land is plentiful, glass mills and metal foundries are extremely common. While letter writing is still an everyday thing, sending messages long distance is better left to the telegram. Each town has at least one telegram machine, and even some companies have their own. Telephones, on the other hand, are very new technology in Antiford. They're considered mostly a business tool, and very few people have them. Herbs are a common remedy as they're less regulated than synthesized medication, thus tend to be less expensive and more readily available. Unlicensed production of medication, including experimental production, is against the law, and persons involved in the creation of non-regulated substances can suffer severe punishment. Consumption of any type of medication or recreational drug is not punishable, just those who create it. Amber lamps are the emergency vehicle in Antiford. They are marked by their bright amber lamps, which let people know that they're coming from or to an emergency. In Argenstrath or Gearford, it's very common to see them powered by steam, but in smaller towns they may be drawn by animals or men. And it's also not just a medical vehicle. They're often used in firefighting or as police transportation.
The paddocks carriage is a vehicle that is used in Antiford, somewhat in Titania, and Prush, as well as some other countries in the world. The vehicle is drawn by a configuration of 2, 4, or 6 engines with wheels attached to them. These engines are designed to be modular, and if one is malfunctioning, it can be removed and replaced easily. The engines replaced the animal power for the carriages. The nickname paddy wagon is given to these vehicles in Antiford. The steam bike was developed in the late 1800s from the single engines of the paddocks carriages. They were modified by young mechanics who wanted a quick means of transportation. They are currently only found in Antiford and are popular, or gaining popularity, in Gearford, Argenstrath, and Aston, as well as Whitehaven. They have not made it far enough south due to the cost and the mechanical needs to repair, and it has not traveled much north due to the tendency of water to freeze when it's colder. Firearms on ore are primarily gunpowder based. However, there are many alternatives to gunpowder. Mainly pneumatic for pistols and rifles for personal use. Air pressure. There is some steam in the small scale powering these the personal weapons. However, steam is mostly found in forts and onboard ships, where there is already a supply of steam being generated, and they are essentially plugged into ports and use the steam to force the ammunition out. Swords are carried very commonly. Knives are also very common. Electric weapons are the newest form of weapon that has been produced. They are extremely rare. Very few work. They are generally very expensive, and most people would live their lives never having seen one. The general form of airships are boats or catamarans with balloons attached. The Antiford military, the Air Sea Brigade in particular, most of their airships are in the form of catamarans. There are a few exceptions. Almost all of them, however, are able to sail on the water as well as sail through the air. Hydrogen was and is used despite its flammable nature, though mostly in high altitude or very large applications. Helium and other lighter than air gases are beginning to become more common. Hot air, however, is still among the most common form of lifting the airships. The hot air is provided by burners located on the ship that use natural gas. Most of the airships are wooden, though some do have steel reinforcement. There are a couple of notable exceptions. One is the Manticore, a ship out of Argynstrath. It is a large wooden ship that is lifted by propellers instead of a balloon. It is the only one left of its kind and is extremely expensive to operate. It was designed as a show of wealth as well as a tool of war. The other exception is the North Star, an electric airship that is powered by storms. It harvests the lightning and uses it to charge batteries and power lifters, which force air downwards. The ship is very expensive to operate, generally seen as too expensive by the military or governments, and the repair is astronomical. And with the fact that most of the ships that would be able to be powered by the electric lifters are not large enough for cargo or personnel, so they're not generally seen as useful.
For a couple of decades, we've had phonographs to record and play back audio. More and more people are able to afford to purchase their favorite symphonies and operas. Which leads us to the talking dolls sold by Automary. These small toys are less expensive than, say, brass dolls, but more expensive than some of the other dolls in the market. Some of their dolls even have small wind-up motions, such as those found in larger automatons. Automatons are self-operating machines. Humanoid automatons, commonly used to replace people in mundane or dangerous tasks, are a recent invention. They come from either one of two companies. The first is Ceruleus Industries. They are lower-cost, usually woodwork, single-task automatons. The second company is the pioneer in the field, Buford Automaton. They invented the system of instincts that we use to describe a functionality of an automaton. A first instinct automaton is one that only does a single task, what Ceruleus Industries produces. The second instinct automaton uses script scrolls to add new functionality. The third instinct automatons take that in and use the output, the outcomes of using a script, and they remember whether that was good or bad, and they can have some rudimentary logic based off of that. Now, Buford Automaton sells second instinct automatons. There are some third instincts, but they're for research. There is no fourth instinct, as of yet anyway. The script scrolls are like player piano scrolls, and they have a series of holes that in different combinations mean certain things. There's some logic to it. If this sensor says this, then skip ahead, otherwise do these things. So those are used and interchanged in Buford automatons to do different things.